with Rebel Without a Cause. 94.3 Trax FM. AW1 kicking it live and direct. The Yankee Doodle Squad getting busy one time.
You are in tune with Sina Radio, your local independent radio station. The intelligent choice.
And if the BBC and IBA stations were doing their job, there would be no job or listeners for Sina Radio. The fact is, they're not.
गाने Sina Radio के अच्छे आते हैं. मैं लाइक करता हूँ, हर रोज सुनता हूँ.
We've been broadcasting for 2 years, but we've changed our format in the last year to Asian soul music, catering for Asian kids of my age, like soul music, hip-hop, house and bhangra.
In this country we've got 4 national stations, and in London we've got 3 other stations to choose from, which compared to somewhere, say, like New York, where you've got 50 stations to choose from, you can see why there's an extra demand.
Party. Watch the leap out from the sky.
A brand new clerk of the course, Jeff Stickles, says conditions are heavy.
They started in the 60s on the pirate ships, and this was before Radio 1 and before there was any pop music whatsoever on the radio, and they were basically catering to teenagers want to hear pop music. The government brought in an act banning stations on ships. What they did was move inland in the 70s and start broadcasting from people's bedrooms and from flat blocks instead.
Then gradually in the late 80s, more stations began to appear with the advent of cheap technology. And then various communities then discovered that they could sort of use this technology for broadcasting programs to a professional standard. And so you've had programs for sort of the Greek, Asian and Afro-Caribbean communities, specialist music stations.
Primarily, our objective is to be an entertainment centre, primarily music for all ages, old music, new music, the Bhangra fever, etc. Then also there are telephone discussion programs when local people can actually phone in and talk about the subject which are of interest to them. They're very successful. Thirdly, the visiting artists from the Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, or superstars, they usually come in for interviews, etc.
I think it's really good, especially for the parents, because it plays all sorts of music, Hindi, Punjabi, all sorts, and it also got Indian rock as well.
Local radio station, I must say, has been particularly supportive of my work, in particular the work of the council in terms of race equality matters. They have, of their own initiative, decided to support a few of the things that my unit was responsible for. For instance, the recent launch of Ealing Council's anti-racism year for 1988, where their support was effective in terms of us increasing the audience participation in our launch 2 or 3-fold.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Sangam Radio 90.5 VHF. That's with me, and my name is Tony, the local community radio station working for you. And the next number I'm going to play for you comes from the film Kurbani.
A lot of them finance themselves through gigs, shows, promotions involving their own DJs, things like all-dayers, record fairs. There's advertising as well, although that often doesn't raise as much revenue as they say it does. Some stations, very few of them, but some of them will accept money to play records on air, but the more respected ones don't actually do that.
The business is self-supporting. It has institutional backing. The institutions who advertise on the radio station, local traders advertise on the station.
I know it's an illegal pirate station. When I see local authorities advertising on the same radio, local police advertising on the same radio, and numerous other businesses advertising on the same radio, I just feel that, well, if everybody else is going to be done, then I'm going to get done also.
Well, Sina Radio is actually Asian radio, and Asian people, most ladies, they don't know much English, and they listen always to Sina Radio in their own language. And they always benefit to us, you see, when they listen in their own language.
Advertising is not as easy as anyone says. No one wants to advertise with a pirate. It's not as easy as that. And you've got to charge them cheap anyway. We normally just charge subs like DJs, especially Asian DJs, yeah, they don't work for stations. So we give them that chance, but £10 a month each, 16 DJs is a lot of money every month, so that helps keep station running.
पेशा खिदमत है तलत महमूद की आवाज में गाया हुआ एक गाना फिल्म का नाम है जोरू का गुलाम
They're liable to be raided at any time, to lose their equipment at any time. DJs are liable to get a police record and fines. But where it leaves them is with a huge listenership as well.
No one really knows why some stations get rated a great deal and others don't. I mean, a lot of it comes down to what interference they're causing. I mean, for example, if they were here and they're broadcasting and interfering with Heathrow, say, then they'd be likely to be clamped down on very quickly. There's other stations for broadcasting to a small area with no problems at all.
नौशाद का नाम तो आपने सुना ही होगा नौशाद एक ऐसी हस्ती है कि हिंदुस्तानी फिल्म मौसीकी में नौशाद का नाम सबसे अव्वल आता है
We could actually have a much tighter schedule programming. We could. There are a lot of people who would like to be involved in local community broadcasting, but because they work for sensitive government departments, or there's a stigma about working for an unlicensed radio station, so we're missing out on that talent. A lot more people would come forward to become community broadcasters if we had a license.
When franchises actually come up, applications are requested again. What will happen? Well, there will be a lot of community radio stations applying who are funded by councils, who have grants and things like that. And what chance a small group of people around 20 years old have of impressing the government, I have no idea, but I should imagine it's fairly slim.
Check it out. The needle time. For every record, you have to pay for it, literally. Plus, the IBA, they watch over you anyway. Everything, from the turntables to the mic, has to be to their standard. And they probably wouldn't have half the stuff that we would broadcast on. It costs too much money. And, it's not really worth it. I'd rather stay quiet. By the time they're finished with the rules and that, you wouldn't tell us from Capital Radio.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Sangam Radio on 90.5 VHF on stereo. The community radio station working for you. The music on the move with Tony.
We want to prove a point that there's a radio station needed for the Asian community. And as the Home Secretary announced that there's going to be a license given to, some license going to go to the Asian community. And it's a possibility, and I'm sure there's going to be a license for a radio station in Southall as well. And it might be Sangam, it might be any other radio station, it might be anyone.
बात है आशा भोसले और साथी फिल्म का नाम है हरे रामा हरे कृष्णा और इसके संगीतकार हैं R.D. बर्मन.
This is a campaign which is being run on behalf of the Asian community in West London and other ethnic minorities throughout UK, that it is time the government recognised that we do have needs and they need to be met.
They've lasted since the 60s, they're lasting well into the end of the 80s, and I think until those sections of the community are catered to, until there are stations where people can legally get the music, news or language they want to hear, then they'll carry on.
We've received lots of letters.
M is staying on the air. The detective cars of the Department of Trade and Industry are always out there, homing in on the illegal transmitters of London's 50 pirate stations. Aerials are moved daily in the enduring game of government cat versus buccaneering mouse. Some pirates have been petitioning for years to be allowed to go legitimate. Now they can. The government intends to license hundreds of community radio stations. Carry on illegally. Jolly Roger Radio isn't dead yet.
It's 94 FM. Dead on your dial.
Michael Cole reporting.